She was only 16 when she whispered a promise no one heard. A promise she made to herself in a room where even the walls felt tired of her tears. Most people forget what they vow at that age. But she didn't, because that promise became the only thing strong enough to pull her out of the life everyone thought she'd never escape. Let me take you into her journey. Her name was Elara Venn, a name that carried no weight back then, not in her school, not in her home, and definitely not in the world. At 16, she felt like a ghost drifting through halls where everyone moved with purpose except her. People talked around her, over her, never to her. Even at home, her footsteps made no sound. Not because she was quiet, but because no one listened. She used to sit at the far end of the dining table, always the last to serve herself. Her parents weren't cruel, they were simply busy surviving. Bills, arguments, exhaustion. These were the languages spoken in the house. And Elara, she learned silence. That year, everything seemed to collapse at once. Her grades dropped, her friends drifted away. Her confidence cracked like thin glass. But the real breaking point came on a cold evening in November. She had failed a major exam, the kind her school said defines your future, which felt like someone stamping failure across her forehead. She walked home slowly, dragging her bag like it weighed her entire life. When she entered her room, she didn't even bother turning on the light. She just sat on the floor, knees pulled up, forehead resting on her arms. For the first time in years, she let herself fall apart. The house outside her room hummed with the usual chaos. Pressure cooker whistles from the kitchen, her parents arguing about forgotten grocery items, a TV too loud, a sibling crying. And there she was, a 16-year-old girl drowning quietly inside her own skin. She looked at her reflection in the dark window, not really seeing her face, just the outline. And something inside her snapped, not in anger, in clarity. She realized she was the only person who could pull herself out. So she whispered a promise, soft, shaky, but fierce in a way only the desperate can be. I won't live my whole life feeling small. I will become someone my younger self would look at and feel proud of. No witnesses, no applause, just a broken girl drawing a line in the sand only she could see. The next morning didn't magically get better. Nothing around her changed, but she did. She woke up earlier, tidied her room, opened the window to let in a little light, and she started studying again. Not to impress teachers, not for grades, but to prove to herself she wasn't done. In school, people still overlooked her, but she cared less, because she wasn't doing any of it for them now. Slowly, small wins began showing up. A quiz she unexpectedly aced, a teacher who noticed her improvement, a classmate who asked for her notes. They were tiny things, but to Elara, they felt like stepping stones on a river she had once been terrified to cross. Her real test came a year later, when her family hit a financial crisis. Her father lost his job, savings evaporated, plans crashed, and suddenly, Elara's dreams seemed irresponsible, luxuries they couldn't afford. Her mother suggested she stop thinking about college. Maybe work somewhere after school, she said softly. Not as punishment, as survival. Elara felt that old sting, the one that used to choke her. But she remembered her promise. She began working part-time, studying at night, saving every rupee she could. Sometimes she stayed up until her eyes burned. Sometimes she fell asleep on her textbooks. Yet she kept going because that promise was etched so deep inside her that abandoning it felt like abandoning herself. By the time she was 18, she had enough for her first college semester. By 19, she topped her department. By 21, she won an internship in a place she once thought was only for people born lucky. But the defining moment came years later, on a day she never imagined. She was giving a presentation to a room full of professionals, confident, steady, self-assured. After she finished, people clapped, not politely, genuinely. And as she looked around, she realized something she wished she could tell that 16-year-old girl on that cold November night. You're not invisible. You were just growing quietly. Her colleagues saw her as talented, capable, someone with potential. But they had no idea how much that promise had carried her. They didn't know about the dark room, the tears, the shattered confidence, the girl who once believed she wasn't enough. They only saw the woman she had become. But that woman existed because a 16-year-old refused to give up on herself. And years later, long after promotions, achievements, and milestones, Elara found herself sitting in her apartment on another quiet evening, holding a cup of tea. She thought about that promise again, not with sadness, but with gratitude, because that night didn't break her, it built her. In the end, her whole future shifted the moment she decided she deserved more than the life she was settling for.